Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a good week and a good day, and I appreciate you joining me this afternoon. If you will, like and share the post, and then we will continue looking at the book how to handle a bad day. Excuse me. The exact title is How to Live Through a Bad Day. And it's based on, I guess, the worst day in history, the worst day anyone's ever dealt with, and that was the day of the crucifixion. It's a little book by Jack Hayford, and so I want to acknowledge that this evening, and get that up front. But it's just a great little book. Again, as I've said, it laid on my desk for ages, and maybe because it is such a small book, I thought, well, it can't be much to it. But I have discovered that this is an amazing little set of principles in how we do get through the bad days in our life. And again, it's based on the sayings of Christ from the cross. And we started several weeks ago now when he said, Father, forgive them. But we get through bad days by forgiving people. That we don't hold those grudges, and we turn those things loose and forgive. Then we help others, as Jesus did the other thief on the cross. We help others who are going through similar situations. As he took care of his mother, we learn to take care of those who are closest to us. Or the negative side of that is don't take it out on those who are closest to us. That we, again, most of us, that's unfortunately kind of a common thing. We have a bad day and we take it out on our spouse, our children, those around us. Then when he asked, my God, why? We ask the questions to God. No use in asking those around us. They don't have the answers, but we ask God Himself the questions that we have. And then today we're going to look at the phrase when He said, I thirst. And interesting, again, the way that Hayford talks about this in his writing, that he points out that the next step that we do is when we're having a bad day is be willing to admit that we have a need, admit that we need something. And again, I think that's an American, maybe even worse for men, that we tend to try to get through things on our own without asking for any assistance or relying on anyone else. And so, as we look at this phrase, again, we see Jesus asking for a drink of water, and the question comes up. He had been offered a drink earlier, and so why did he ask for a drink at this point? Well, the obvious answer would be he was thirsty. The obvious answer would be that he's hung in the sun all day. The obvious answer would be he was getting dehydrated and from being in the sun and the loss of blood, and so the obvious answer would be that he was thirsty at this point, and perhaps that certainly would be a reasonable understanding of everything he'd been through in the last 24 hours to be thirsty. But we remember this. Again, earlier, Jesus had turned down an offer of a drink. And that drink that had been offered to him had some some pain-killing properties to it that stood the potential to slow his thoughts. Not just deal with pain, but if you've ever taken pain medicine, you know it will cause you it'll slow down your thinking a little bit and cause you to be can get you confused and addle a little bit. And Christ on the cross wanted and needed to be clear. And I think, and I tend to agree, I never thought about it this way, but again, and give Hayford credit for this thought, that he asked for a drink of water because of what he was about to say. He wanted to be sure that his voice was clear. He wanted everyone to hear his final phrase that we'll look at as we continue to move along. Certainly, I don't doubt a bit that he was probably thirsty, but I think again that he wanted to be sure that when he spoke his final words, his final message, his final words to mankind on that side of the cross. He wanted to be sure that everyone around heard it. He didn't want to stumble. He didn't want to have a scratchy throat. He wanted them to hear very clearly what he was about to say. And it's important, again, I think, to remember that Jesus was in absolute control of his faculties. He was in control. Everything that was happening was his choice. The Bible tells us that he laid down his life, that they didn't take it from him. Again, he could have at any moment called on his Father to send angels to take him off of that cross, and so he was in control of the events, and he chose again at this point to take a drink of water, and so which kind of brings us then into our final or our point, not our final, but our point for today that Jesus at this point, even though Jesus was in control, he needed a drink of water. He needed someone to bring him a drink of water. And I think there's a great lesson there for us that even though when we go through bad days, when we're having those hard days, just as Jesus said to those there, I need a glass of water, bring me water, that we learn to rely, we learn to accept the assistance of those around us. That we, certainly our bad day doesn't compare to the bad day that Jesus was having. But sometimes a bad day, a hard day, messes up our thinking. And sometimes we will get to the point where we get very independent, we get very stubborn, we get hard-headed, and again, I think part of it's just being even American, that we won't ask for help. That we and I think most of you listening today, you know that when we do that, we tend to try to fix things ourselves. We try to go at it alone, and only make things even worse. God has blessed us and given us Christian family, church friends, Christian friends, Christian co-workers, Christian neighbors, for a reason, so that we can be willing to go to them and ask for the help, ask for assistance through a situation in our life. It may just simply be advice. It may just be, it may be actually physically helping with something. But again, we need to learn to take advantage of the resources that God has placed around us in Christian friends, pastors, Sunday school teachers, those people that God has put around us. But again, I don't know if it's arrogance or ignorance or a touch of both that causes us often to think, well, it's a sign of weakness, or I don't want to. To bother somebody. But let me ask you this question: if you're genuinely a follower of Jesus Christ, if you're genuinely seeking to serve Him, and one of your brothers or sisters has a need, aren't you generally willing and able, have a desire to help them through that? To do what we can to assist. I've seen one thing that comes to my mind, and this has been a long time ago, but I think about several years ago now, we had a really bad storm come through. I don't remember if it was an ice storm or maybe one of the hurricanes blowing up from the coast. I can't remember what caused it, but there were trees and tree limbs down all over the place. And we had some of our older members in the church who had limbs down, trees down, and they needed some help getting those limbs, cut up and moved to the street and that kind of thing. And the Saturday after that storm, we had a group of men come together, and they fanned out, and they went out and just jumped on those limbs. They were all over them like a dog on a three-legged cat. They were cutting up limbs and dragging them to the road. And what was really cool was they didn't, as they went to people's homes, and as they went to the folks that they knew, that the church members' homes, and began to cut up their limbs and drag them off, they would see the neighbor, and the neighbors had limbs, and they would just go over and start. There were several places where they just worked their way down the street, worked their way through the neighborhood, just cleaning and helping total strangers. Most of us are willing to do that for other people. Why do we think that we can't rely and call on others for help? There are people who have been through the same situation. There are people who have been through going through that time, who a similar problem, health problem or physical problem, and again, they can offer counsel and advice. They can just be a friend during that time. And so we learn, Jesus asked them, said, I need a glass of water. There's no, how many times does somebody ask you, is there anything I can do? And you said no, knowing full well there was a need that person could have met. I think, in a really broad and simple way, Jesus saying "I thirst" is a reminder to us that's one of the gifts of God. That God, the Bible tells us that some people have the gift of helps. It's just in their nature to help other people. There are people who can't sing in the choir. There are people who, can't teach or won't teach a Sunday school lesson, won't get up and preach. There's people who maybe they don't have a lot of money to put in the offering plate. Those kind of things, but they'd be tickled pink to help you with your car problem, or they'd be thrilled for the opportunity to help you with some repairs around the house. That's their skill, that's their gift. And so, one of the ways one of the things we learn, I think, from this is, again, that we can call on others. And then the flip side of that then is we're willing to help others, that we're willing to go and help others. The Bible tells us in the book of Galatians to bear one another's loads, to help each other with each other's burdens, to do that, to help other people, and to give them the assistance that we need. And so, I don't know. Maybe me and Hayford both are stretching the analogy here a little bit, but I think when Jesus says, "I thirst," He's saying, "I need something you have. I need something you have, something you can do for me to help me in this situation." When we're having a hard day, we need to learn to take advantage, or maybe that's the wrong phrase to say take advantage, but to utilize um, the people that God has blessed us with, that God has placed around us and placed in our life that can help us. And then we need to remember to return that, to be a help to others when they are going through the hard days in their life. All right, I hope that helps you. Again, it's a little bit, maybe it's stretching the analogy just a little bit, but I think the point is biblical nonetheless, that we help others and that we accept the assistance and the help that from the people God has put in our life. All right, have a good rest of the evening, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday night. Morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, if you will, and like and share the post, and then we'll jump into the 104th Psalm, Psalm 104. Beautiful, beautiful Psalm. It is obviously a companion to the Psalm 103 that we just finished, and it I hate to rank them, but many people do believe that this is an even more beautiful psalm than 103. We're not sure the author, although if you look, it starts with the words, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." It ends with the words, "Bless the Lord, O my soul," just as the 103rd Psalm did. And so I think and just looking at the nature of the words, again, would be easy to assign this to David. One of the things that this psalm you're going to see is it really focuses on the beauty of the creation, the beauty of nature, which David, as a young shepherd boy, it would be easy to picture him writing this as he sat in the fields with his flocks and observed nature and all the things that were around him, the wonderful, amazing works of God. And this psalm is just really, it kind of walks through the days of creation. It really just kind of goes step by step, kind of through the events or the things that were created, and praises God for them. And so, again, it really just points us, as I've said before, David Maines talks about going on a God hunt, just looking around for the things of God, the work of God in our life all around us. And that's really, in many ways, what this psalm is. It appears that the psalmist, again, whoever he is, I tend to think David, but whoever he is, kind of went on a God hunt and just began to observe all the handiwork and the beauty of God's creation. I love how John Phillips. John Phillips is one of my favorite authors. I love his work. I love how he describes this psalm. He says that Psalm 103 celebrates God, the God of circumstance. Psalm 104 celebrates him as the God of creation. Psalm 103 magnifies God's grace. Psalm 104 magnifies his glory. 103 deals with his mercy. 104 deals with his might. And so it is a great psalm. Again, the author of this psalm, anonymous, but many, as they look at it, just are amazed at his skill in writing and how he shares his observations. And so this is just again, this is another one of those. When I think of a psalm, this is what I think of. This is just a beautiful song of praise. You could, I think, if you were using terms today, we sing that little chorus, "Our God is an awesome God." I think maybe that could be the name, the title of this song. And so let's get into the psalm. It's a rather lengthy psalm, and so we're going to try to break it down into bite-sized pieces. Some of the sections, for example, the first full section is really the first 9 verses. Then the next section is 14 verses long, and so those first 2 sections are rather long, and we may not, again, my ideal is to cover whole paragraphs at a time, but sometimes that just doesn't work. So we're going to start in verse 1, and we're going to excuse me, go as far as we can in our time this morning and see again how this psalmist describes the beauty of God's handiwork, His greatness, for His. He's just, if I were to put it simply, he is praising God for His creation. That is the simplest way to put it. How marvelous, how intricate creation is, and he's just describing the greatness of God. That with all that man has done, we have with all of man's creation. Just to give you one simple example, with all the many things that man has created, computers, sent man to the moon, those kind of things, man has created nothing that even remotely compares to the human eyeball. And so the creation of God is the theme of his song. So getting in verse 1, he says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, O Lord my God, thou art very great, thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who coverest thyself with light as with a garment, who stretchest out the heavens like a curtain." And so again, we see it starts as the previous psalm ended, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." And he then begins to describe, "You are very great." He describes him as an amazing, great king, clothed with honor and majesty. And what he means by that, when he says he's clothed with honor and majesty, he's talking about the creation that God is recognized by his creation. I think about, and this is a really lousy analogy, but I think of certain artists here on earth. Now, I'm not an art person. I don't know art. I don't have an artistic bone in my body. But those that do, they can look at a painting and without even I have to look in the corner, and then sometimes I can't tell even who painted it. But a genuine art fan can look at a piece of art and they know the artist just by the work. They have signature things about their artwork that again someone knowledgeable in art says, "Oh, that's Michelangelo," or that's some whoever artist. They can recognize it by the work that they do. And so that's kind of what David is saying here, that we can see the greatness of God as we see his creation, that it's his signature, it is recognizable, and he is clothed in that creation. And so he recognizes that he covers himself with light. And again, I said this psalm walks through the days of creation. On the first day of creation, God created light. Let there be light. He's describing again the beauty that light again. You cover yourself with light as with a garment, I can imagine that perhaps David sitting on a hillside one day, maybe watching the sunrise or the sunset, or maybe one evening seeing the moon in the sky and the stars, maybe a meteor, a comet, or something shot through the skies, and David just remembered that he had been taught since a young boy that in the beginning God created light, and he recognized that as again the amazing nature of God, and so we have this light again. Again we see light in the New Testament picture to us, the contrast between darkness and light. That God is that it's a symbol, a sign of His righteousness and who He is. That there's no darkness, no shade of darkness in Him, and David recognizes this light as being again. The greatness of God. And again, that last phrase, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, again, tends to make me, now I don't have any inside information, but that tends to make me think maybe it was at night, maybe the stars, but again, it could have very well been a beautiful blue sky with the clouds in the sky and the sun shining, and David just saw the light, and again maybe it was sunrise, and as he saw the sun come up, and as the sun comes out and the darkness has to flee, that David was just reminded of the greatness of his God, and began to sing to Him, and sing praises to God. And so this morning, I want to encourage you. And I want to challenge you. Again, I've said this before. We tend to notice the things that God does that are unusual. When we get good news of a healing, or money comes in we weren't expecting to cover a bill, those kind of things, we get all excited about those. But what about something as really not simple? I started to say something as simple, but something as commonplace for most of us as light. The first thing we do when we walk in a room is flip the light switch. We enjoy the benefit of light all around us, and we see it every day. We have light around us that reminds us of the glory and the authority, the power of our God. And so today, let me just encourage you just to look around and pay attention and notice again the light. Let's just be conscious today and be grateful for light. If you're not grateful for light, I tell you what will make you grateful. I was seeing a thing on social media today of some people who have been having some issues and their power's been out. One thing that'll make you grateful for light is when your power's out. Just the light, the sun, the stars, the moon, the electric light all around us that God blesses us with every day. And so let's take time to be grateful today for His creation, just as the psalmist does here in these two verses. All right, have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.